sapiens, from conqueror of the land community to plain member and citizen of it. It implies respect for his fellow members and also respect for the community as such. And I think of this too in terms of legacy. Like when I talk to farmers, and especially when I was here in Alabama, the idea that you are taking care of this land, not just for yourself, but for future generations, I think is really important. And I feel like that's the glue that keeps this community of learners together. We're all trying to take care of the land. And I also want to throw out one more, George Washington Carver quote again. Gwen pointed me to this book. It's a quote from George Washington Carver. It says, "My work is that of conservation." So again, it all circles back here, right? So just a real quick overview of our Land Ethic Mentorship. It is a free program. It says free enrollment, but there's no other expenses with it. It's just free. We do rely on the network of Leopold Conservation Award recipients, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. It is, again, it's conservation focused. We do take the idea that conservation is a broad sweeping thing. For some people, it's regenerative ag. For some people, it's focused mainly on soil health and no-till or cover crops. And for other people, it's about taking care of the wildlife in conjunction with growing food. And for some people, it's all of those things. So you can participate in this as much or as little as you want. A lot of folks just come to webinars or watch recordings or don't even respond to emails. They just get the resources I send out. And some people opt in to be paired one-on-one with a mentor, which I will talk about in 1 second. And again, I kind of went through this. We have these monthly conservation conversations online. We have office hours with mentors, which again are that network of Leopold Conservation Award recipients, webinars. We have offered scholarships and field days, and we hope to do that again as we build out our funding sources, rebuild our funding sources. We have online resources, peer-to-peer support, which has been really important, and then the mentorship piece. So the kind of greenish states colored in on this map are the places where we have the Leopold Conservation Award. The Leopold Conservation Award is a $10,000 no strings attached award in each of those states every year to farmers, ranchers, or foresters that are doing exceptional conservation work. They all look different. You can see a list of the different farming practices that people do that have won this award: ranching, row crops, vegetable producers, organic, conventional, confinement livestock, pasture livestock, orchards, they do direct marketing, they do commodity marketing, they do forestry. It really runs the gamut. They're all really interesting. We had Paul Muller of Full Belly Farms, which is a very big kind of on the forefront of organic farming in California. He was one of the early winners of the Leopold Conservation Award. He was just on a call with us. He did office hours last month, and somebody asked him the question about no-till. They said, "How do you do no-till in an organic vegetable production?" Like he's on like 500 acres of vegetable production, and he's like, "Honestly, I don't do no-till." He's like, I like to think of it as mindful tillage. He's like, there are some crops that he rotates a lot of his crops. He does a lot. I think his cover crop mixture is like 30 different varieties of plants. And he said, there's some crops that I can definitely do no-till, and there's some that I can't. So I minimize what I do, and I keep that. I try to do the other parts of the soil health that Sam was talking about. But that's a good example of somebody you can ask that question to for a really practical, applied, this is how I do it answer. And here in the national program is available to anybody. Here in Alabama, we are currently piloting something we've been talking about for a long time, and we were able to do it here. Is a kind of more regional peer-to-peer cohort. And so this is focused on the Wiregrass region, although I will say if you are slightly outside the Wiregrass region and you want to participate, we will make space for you. These are the counties identified by NRCS as being in the Wiregrass. You may identify differently, and some of these overlap with the Black Belt. but that's okay. And I do have flyers for both of these programs if you're interested. This is built out of the Land Ethic Mentorship Program and is just designed to be more locally focused. We do have funding once it's unfrozen to do local field days and meetings and to gather people together. So if you're at all interested or know of anybody that's interested, please let us know. Yes, and I know you're interested. So because this is the kind of peer-to-peer learning that we've seen is really effective, and we just like to facilitate. This is not designed to replace anything that's already in existence. If anything, we're hoping to just augment and bring those resources together in a new way. And I think about these programs. I said I was kind of ignorant about George Washington Carver, and I'm going to use a term that I hopefully it doesn't sound too jargony, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed as I've worked with this program and I've seen people come together from different parts of the country, people that are involved very locally with their own local organizations and extension and well connected, and then they get involved with like a national group, and then they sometimes meet somebody they would never have met before, and maybe even somebody that's like well outside of the kind of agricultural production that you thought you would ever be interested in. And it's really interesting to see what happens. I talk about it being network disruption, and I hate to use like jargony words, but even just like Gwen, I thought I knew like a decent amount about land grants and about the history of ag in the US and sustainable ag and conservation. And then all Gwen has to do is say, well, did you know George Washington Carver was actually really into conservation? And we did a lot of conservation work. And I was like, no, I didn't. So I think our networks determine the ways that we learn. And anytime we have an opportunity to expand those networks or dip our toes into some other place, it really can open up the opportunities in really exciting ways. And another example from our program, we have a mentee. I use that term loosely because she's also a mentor at the same time. Her name's Carmen McKee, and she is in Gary, Indiana. She's an urban ag producer, although actually she decided, anyway, she doesn't call herself that anymore. She's a farmer. And she was matched in our program she wanted a mentor. And so we matched her with this wonderful farmer in Kansas who's an organic farmer, mainly doing row crops. He's doing kind of a diverse, and not a very typical looking row crop production. Unlike, I think he might have 500 acres. They've hit it off beautifully. Like they're buddies. And he invited her to his conference called No Till on the Plains that is in Kansas with a bunch of row crop farmers, mostly men, mostly white. And she went, she was a real adventurer. She went and, she was in this workshop and she was totally prepared to be the like newbie. And one of the sessions was on composting. And so there were a bunch of these like, Midwestern farmers like taking notes and like, oh, how do we do composting? And she's like, I know composting. I've been doing composting. I can tell you about composting. And so I just think the more we can do, the more we can kind of get outside of our comfort zone and really open ourselves up to different ways of learning and different ways of sharing what we know, especially around soil, making sure we maintain our natural resources for our legacy, for our next generation. I think we'll all be better off. So I think that's the end of our slideshow, and I think we're right at time, but we're here. So we're happy to take questions or talk afterwards. But thank you for your time and your energy. I know it's the end of the day, so I'm really grateful for you all.